allowing Abomasnow to go down. We're going to come in, look to farm down with Ninetales. The spider gets absolutely toasted. In comes Azumarill. We say switch into Politoad, aka the poor man Swampert. Well, this Politoad happens to be Legacy. Hi Jirachi, bye Jirachi, GG's and thanks for playing. So let's get into today's video. I'm sure we've all seen the hype around Shadow Abomasnow, so it's time that the home of Shadow Pokemon put it to the test. And what better time than to run one of my favourite teams? It is the Triple Weatherball Spam team, featuring obviously the Snowman, Shadow Abomasnow in the lead, with both Legacy Politoad and Overheat Ninetales in the back. All three mon are super spammy, hit super hard and have great coverage on the meta. Certain things like counter users can give us somewhat of a problem, but getting on into game number one, we pick up the mighty Blue Mouse in the lead. Shadow Abomasnow absolutely dominant in this matchup. We are going to tank a move. They throw their play rough, we throw one powder snow. The opponent switches out into a Jellicent, pretty questionable Jellicent, gets near one shot, we come in, with Politoad we commit to the mud shot, farm down, back out, comes Azumarill, and guess what Azumarill, we're on Earthquake, Earthquake lands for big damage, and the opponent's already had enough, and that's all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle, pick up a lead against an Air Slash Tropius. This is pretty neutral. This is just a Leaf Blade, but Shadow Abomasnow, not the bulkiest. We don't want to allow the opponent to farm down, so we now fire one quick move and the Weather Ball. This will knock out from this range. The opponent shields it up. We fire one more Powder Snow and the second Weather Ball. This should definitely be drawing the final shield from the opponent. We could shield and farm down, but I don't really like being shields down, so we are going to take shield advantage, come in with Ninetales, commit to the Fire Spin, farm down. Let's see what the opponent has in the back. The opponent now comes in to Azumarill. We say switch into Politoad, and it is Lanturn in the back. Politoad is looking absolutely prime to sweep. We fire off on the CMP tide to the Thunderbolt. Earthquake doesn't quite KO. Really wish we got stabbed. We do not, so we are going to shield up the Thunderbolt. Commit to the Mud Shot, farm down. Azumarill pretty much has nowhere to go at this stage. They are going to fire off the Play Rough. Play Rough does a lot of damage. We fire one more Mud Shot and the Earthquake to optimise our fast move timing. Earthquake lands for decent damage. I'm going to bank enough energy just to be one Mud Shot short of the Earthquake. We come in to Ninetales. The opponent fires off the Ice Beam. That isn't enough to KO. We're going to go straight for the Overheat. Overheat is resisted, but Shadow Ninetales really doesn't care, and that's all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle, we see a counter user in the lead. This time we say switch into Ninetales. The opponent comes in to Swampert. They time their charge move correctly. They CMP tie us to the Overheat. We allow ourselves to get taken out. This is now somewhat of a tricky spot. Abomasnow, a pretty good wall to Swampert unless they have Sludge Wave, but this definitely is not a Sludge Wave. We are going to tank the Hydro Cannon. It does a fair amount of damage. Hydro Cannon absolutely busted. We are going to fire off the Energy Ball just before they get to Hydro Cannon. Number 2, down goes Swampert, back out comes the Obstagoon. We are going to fire off the Weather Ball. Weather Ball is going to do some nice chip damage or draw a shield. The opponent shields it up at this stage now. We are going to bank on Politoad sweeping. They go for an Obstruct. We come in to Politoad. Counter is now going to really chunk. Mud Shot was doing absolutely nothing with a boosted defense. This matchup is getting pretty terrible. We are going to fire off the Weather Ball. Weather Ball hopefully draws a shield from the opponent. They have shielded up. We still have 2 shields and hardly any health. Things are looking pretty dreadful. We shield up the Night Slash. I am going to go for the back-to-back Weather Balls. This should hopefully knock out the Obstagoon. First Weather Ball lands for decent damage. I'm going to fire off Weather Ball. Number 2, Obstagoon goes down, but whatever is in the back, probably we can't knock out. We fall one Mud Shot short of the Weather Ball, and there's absolutely no point in shielding this up because this is game over. GG's to that opponent. Moving on to the next battle, we see Swampert in the lead. The opponent safe switches into the Bear Trap, and here comes Ninetales. A pretty neutral-ish matchup. Everything will hit me for super effective. However, Fire Spin is absolutely chunking. We know this is just a rock slide. I am going to allow myself to tank one. It gets us pretty low. We should be able to get off the back-to-back Weather Balls. Let's see if the opponent wants to commit any shields. They just allow themselves to go down, and we now are pretty loaded. Back out comes the Swampert. We are going to go straight for the Overheat, and Overheat lands for some huge resisted damage. The opponent still hanging on to 2 shields. We come into Abomasnow. They bring in the Walrus. Stay in school, kids. Learn to count. We catch the Icicle Sphere on our Politoad. that is resisted and doesn't do all that much damage. Walrus has also been nerfed. They're obviously going to be looking to land an earthquake, as am I. We go straight for the Hail Mary. The opponent calls the bait, and Politoad absolutely was not baiting. The opponent is going to have to earthquake to take us out. The correct play from the opponent, but the Walrus is now 5-5-5 to charge moves. We fire off the Weather Ball. We fire off Weather Ball number 2 on the CMP tie. If the opponent shields this up, we should be able to shield up and Powder Snow down. They're 5 away from the charge move. Can Abomasnow get the farm down? Yes, we can, and this game is over. GG's to that opponent. Moving on to the next battle. Now we've had a couple of weeks of the season. People have seen the nerf to Walrus. Doesn't really make it that much worse. Back-to-back battles. We look to catch the Icicle Sphere on our Politoad. We are unsuccessful. They meet us with a Meta-Chan and we go straight for the Earthquake. Earthquake lands for decent damage. This is just a power-up punch. Politoad doesn't need to shield. Power-up punch doesn't do much, but these counters are now really starting to chunk. They are now pretty much in Weather Ball range. We fire off the first Weather Ball. It draws a shield from the opponent. The opponent doesn't throw. We get to Weather Ball number 2, and the opponent is now down all shields. Meta-Chan absolutely loaded, but unfortunately they are going to lose. CMP tie, so Abomasnow takes care of Meta-Chan. We switch out into Ninetales. We catch the Icicle Sphere. Things are looking absolutely fantastic. The opponent now switches out into a Swampert. Ninetales, not on Solar Beam, is going to have very little play. It is just going to be the Sacrificial Lamb. We come in to the Snowman. The opponent is firing off one more Hydro Cannon, even though it is resisted. Swampert, the absolute GOAT, hits like a truck. We are going to have to shield up the second Hydro Cannon as we are running out of HP. We are now going to overfarm. Weather Ball is going to be enough to take care of Swampert when the Walrus should return. It is going to get hit with the big fat Energy Ball. We shield up. The Icicle Sphere Weather Ball is going to come through, and you already know. Hi Walrus, bye Walrus, GG's, and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle, we see Abomasnow into Nidoqueen. Not the best matchup. Poison Jab tearing for us. We look to switch out, catching the Poison Fang on our Politoad. It doesn't do a whole great deal of damage. The opponent now comes in to a Waterfall Samurott. Holy smokes, that is a spicy pick. Whatever they throw is going to take us out with our lowered defense. Once again, we are just completely sacking our save switch. We can now come back in with Abomasnow. We are going to overfarm as much as possible. Fire off the Energy Ball. Energy Ball will be enough to take care of Samurott when Nidoqueen does return. We've got the Weather Ball locked and loaded. Does the opponent want to shield it up? They do not. They allow themselves to go down. We switch out into Ninetales, and it is Galarian Stunfisk in the back. We do actually lose this in the 2 shields when we're on Fire Spin, but I am going to shield up absolutely everything. Get this thing as low as possible and hope to Powder Snow down. Let's see if that works out. The opponent is going to be spamming out Rock Slide after Rock Slide. We have committed all our shields. We are going to fire off one more Weather Ball. This should draw the final shield from the opponent. We are going to get outpaced to the next move, and it's going to be a case of who is going to win the race. Is Abomasnow or is the Galarian Stunfisk Abomasnow? Absolutely not getting mud shot down, and we managed to clutch out the game. GG's, and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle, we see Abomasnow into Shadow Swampert. The opponent save switches into Froslass, and Ninetales is absolutely about to feast. We do tank a Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball does land for big damage. I look to Fire Spin down, but it looks like we are running out of HP, so I'm going to fire off the Weather Ball. Weather Ball goes unshielded. We managed to farm down. We're 1 Fire Spin away from the overheat. Can we survive the mud shots and get it off? I don't know, maybe. I actually shat my own pants, so shout out to me. And it looks like we didn't survive. But either way, we get a bit of chip damage off on the Swampert, and it's nice to be the person shitting my pants for a change rather than the opponent. The opponent fires off a Hydro Cannon, knowing I'm unlikely to shield, getting some valuable chip damage and switch out into their own Snowman, and we are now in a tricky spot. Politoad really doesn't want to see an opposing Shadow Snowman. We are going to be spamming off Weather Ball after Weather Ball, hoping to get all shields down, so Politoad has got a chance of closing this game. We get to one more Weather Ball on a CMP tie. This does huge damage to the Abomasnow. They are now energy dry. We can safely come in with Politoad, unleash a resisted Weather Ball, take care of the Snowman, and Politoad is primed to sweep this game. Back out comes the Swampert, and the opponent concedes the match. GG's, and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle, we see Trevenant in the lead. The opponent looks to catch the Ice-type Weather Ball onto the Drapion. I build up a boatload of energy, switch out into Politoad. Politoad has a pretty good matchup against Drapion. They fire off the crunch. We are going to be firing back with a Weather Ball. Weather Ball doesn't get a shield from the opponent. We actually get to Weather Ball number 2 on a CMP tie. Unfortunately for me, we lose CMP, but both my remaining Pokemon are really good against the Trevenant. So I'm happy to let my Politoad go down. We commit to the Fire Spin farm down, and the opponent is now in a really tricky spot. The tree has absolutely nowhere to run, and in the back is a knockdown. We're going straight for the Hail Mary. The opponent shields up the overheat. I switch out into Abomasnow. The opponent brings back in the Trevenant as the sacrificial lamb. We manage to take him out with the Weather Ball. Abomasnow absolutely loaded. Fires off a Weather Ball. That draws the final shield from the knockdown. We make one more Weather Ball, and the opponent is in a real mess. Weather Ball near takes him out. We can allow Abomasnow to go down, and Ninetales is going to be able to Fire Spin down, and we manage to nicely 2-shield flex. GG's, and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle, we see that Bear Trap Galarian Stunfisk in the lead. We are going to tank a Rock Slide. It does hit for super effective, but the Mud Shots don't do anything at all. We look to catch the second Rock Slide on our Politoad, and we are successful. We bank a boatload of energy on the Snowman. Let's see what the opponent comes in with. They have a Charm Ninetales. I am going to look to unleash Weather Ball after Weather Ball. The first one doesn't draw a shield from the opponent, but we've got plenty more of where that come from. Politoad spams out Weather Ball number 2. The opponent actually chooses to shield it up. The Ninetales is at a move, so I'm going to come in with Abomasnow as we win CMP. Let's see if the opponent is willing to give up their final shield. Yes, they are at this stage now. I'm going to put all my chips on Ninetales. Ninetales comes in. The opponent switches out into the Bear Trap. They are going to fire off the Rock Slide. We are going to shield it up. We are going to look to over-farm as much as possible. This Weather Ball is obviously going to take care of the Bear Trap. Let's see what the opponent has in the back. And it is a Metachan. So at this stage now, they're not quite in overheat range. I am going to fire off the Weather Ball. Weather Ball gets Metachan fairly low. I am going to have to shield up whatever they throw. I'm really hoping they don't bait me with an Ice Punch, and it is an Ice Punch. The opponent now looks to switch out into K9. We are going to look to take him out because we don't want to take any charm damage. We are running out of HP. I'm really hoping this Weather Ball is enough to knock out, and they survive on 1 HP. And a dream, and we lose a heartbreaking game. GG's to that opponent. Moving on to the next battle, we see Kofa Grigus in the lead. Abomasnow can hit pretty hard with Energy Ball. Weather Ball not too threatening. After the nerf, we correctly shield up a Shadow Ball. We are going to over farm, and we are going straight for the Hail Mary. Energy Ball will near knockout. Let's see what the opponent wants to do. They let it go, and we manage to Powder Snow down. Abomasnow leaves loaded, full of energy, and it is Bastiodon. So we are going to have to stay in because obviously our Ninetales also doesn't want to sit. We reach the first Energy Ball. Can we make Energy Ball number 2? Unfortunately, we do die almost at the move, but Politoad, a pretty good response to Bastiodon. They fire off the Stone Edge. We tank it. The opponent now brings in Lapras, and we are in somewhat of a tricky spot. We do resist the Ice Shards, but Surf is going to hit for super effective. We build up a boatload of energy, and we are going to start spamming out Weather Ball after Weather Ball. First Weather Ball draws a shield. We fire off Weather Ball number 2. The opponent lets it go. We quickly switch out into Politoad. They are now in Weather Ball range. Does the Lapras want to shield it up? Yes, they do. We are going to commit our final shield here. We are going to look to over farm as much as we physically can. We are going to fire off one more Weather Ball on the CMP tie. Resisted Weather Ball takes care of Lapras. Back out comes Wallface, and you already know it's going to be high Wallface. Bye Wallface. GG's, and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle, we see the Spider Galvantula in the lead. Abomasnow has a pretty neutral-ish matchup here. We actually managed to throw on a CMP tie because I'm an absolute noob. We do lose CMPs. You always want to go for the extra, so do as I say, not as I do. We still managed to draw a shield from the opponent. We actually are going to fire off one more Weather Ball this time before the opponent can reach a lunge. They are now going to reach the lunge, and we are going to allow the Snowman to go down. I'm going to come in with Ninetales, look to Fire Spin down before they make another move, and we are now somewhat ahead in energy. They bring in a Azumarill. We switch out into Politoad, and it is Jirachi in the back. and we are Legacy Politoad, so you already know Hydroarchy, Bidroarchy. Back out comes the Azumarill, and the opponent concedes the match. Speaking of Azumarill, we see another one in the lead. The opponent switches out into Stunfisk, so we come in with Ninetales because obviously Ninetales doesn't want to see Azumarill. We are just going to use it once again as a sacrificial lamb. We fire off a Weather Ball and the opponent shields it up. We are now going to shield because we do know we can get both shields off the opponent or switch advantage. Let's see what the opponent wants to do. Ninetales fires off Weather Ball. Number 2, the opponent is choosing to double shield. They have a Rock Slide locked and loaded, so we are going to bring in Politoad, hoping they fire immediately, and that is exactly what the opponent does. Can we Mud Shot down before the second Rock Slide? No, we cannot. Unfortunately now, I am going to have to shield. I really hope we could Mud Shot down, but we could not. But we do have a whole boatload of energy on Politoad. Back out comes the Azumarill. We fire off the Earthquake. Earthquake lands for big damage. We now look to catch the Play Rough onto our Abomasnow. Play Rough does do a reasonable amount of damage, and it is Talonflame in the back. Holy smokes, we are in somewhat of a tricky spot. Weather Ball lands, puts them into Weather Ball range. We come in with Politoad. We fire off one more Weather Ball. That takes care of the Talonflame. We are going to be able to outpace this Azumarill to the Earthquake, and Earthquake should seal the deal. GG's, and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle, it's like deja vu. We see another Abomasnow in the lead. This time they switch out into Scrafty. We meet him with Ninetales, as Ninetales is the only Pokemon on the team that offers any form of fast move pressure. The opponent is going straight. Power Up Punch. We aren't going to shield anything. We are going to look to get off back-to-back Weather Balls. This first Weather Ball will not knock out, but it will get Scrafty super low. We are going to spam out Weather Ball number 2, and the opponent chooses to double shield. We can't come in with Abomasnow, as the boosted counters would absolutely tear through us. The opponent is going to spam out one more Power Up Punch. Counter is even tearing through Politoad. We are going to take him out with a Weather Ball. Let's see what the opponent wants to do. They come back in to Azumarill, so we are going to fire off the Earthquake. Earthquake, as you've seen numerous times in the video, does do a nice bit of chip damage. The opponent actually fires their energy, and we are going to allow Politoad to go down. Back out comes Abomasnow, and it is an Ariados in the back. They fire off a Cross Poison. Cross Poison would be super effective, but Abomasnow still has 2 shields. We shield it up. We are going to spam out back-to-back Weather Balls. This should take care of the Spider, and the Azumarill in the back is going to eat an Energy Ball to the face, and the opponent actually doesn't let me and concede the match. Moving on to the next battle, we see Alola Marowak in the lead. Absolutely dreadful for us. The opponent switches out into Azumarill to meet our Ninetales. Things have gone from bad to worse. Overheat lands for a decent bit of resisted damage. We are going to spam out a second Overheat, but we have now lowered our own attack, so we are essentially doing pretty much no damage. The opponent fires off an Ice Beam. Ice Beam doesn't KO, and they do manage to farm us down. We bring back in Abomasnow. They're far too healthy for us to commit to the Powder Snow farm down, so I'm going to tank the Ice Beam, spam out a Weather Ball, and hope that Politoad has what it takes to sweep this battle. We bring in the Politoad, and it is Venusaur in the back, and this is absolute hard counter city, so fuck it, I'm going to concede the match myself. Moving on to the next one, we see New Legacy Jumpluff in the lead. The opponent is staying in, so we are going to shield this up. They must be double weak to Abomasnow. I am getting close to 100 energy, so I'm going to fire off a Weather Ball. I hardly hit any bubbles, but it still takes care of Jumpluff. The opponent now brings in a Ice Fang Mighty Enna. Holy smoke, someone must be watching my buddy Callum on Toast, because other than him, I've seen no one run this Pokemon. They shield up the Ice type Weather Ball. We actually then go for the Energy Ball, and we snipe them with Ninetales, and it is Azumarill in the back. So they obviously aren't a Callum on Toast fan, as he would not be running this absolute meta garbage. We go for the Overheat. The opponent CMP ties us. They fire off the Play Rough. Play Rough doesn't knock out. We are going to look to get to one more Overheat. Let's see if the opponent is going to give up their final shield. They are running out of HP. The opponent doesn't commit their final shield. We bring in Abomasnow to tank the energy. The opponent fires off one more Play Rough. We bring in Politoad. We are going to look to Mud Shot all the way down, and the opponent concedes the match. Moving on to the next one. We see a Kingdra in the lead. Holy smokes, that is a spicy pick. It is super glassy. So we go for the Weather Ball. The opponent doesn't shield, and I am also not going to shield. Calling the Octazooka, and the opponent does fire off the Octazooka. So we make one more Weather Ball. Does the opponent want to commit a shield? Yes, they do. I now bring in Politoad for an ambitious Mudshot farm down. We do get there. We are now loaded. The opponent brings in a Charmer. We go straight for the Hail Mary. Earthquake goes unshielded. We now switch out into K9, and it is a Drifblim in the back. We are going to go for a Weather Ball. Weather Ball is going to do a nice bit of chip damage to the balloon. We get to one more Weather Ball, and you can already see the opponent has conceded the match, and that's all she wrote. So those were the battles with the triple Weather Ball spam team. These battles were from a few days ago. We have now used Abomasnow once again. I did hit Elo. I actually landed pretty low at 21.04, so I was a bit disappointed. So I thought, fuck it, it's time to climb. Went with an Abomasnow Nidoqueen core, and I went on an absolutely insane run, including a 14-1. We went from 21.04 to 23.35. So if you want to see the battles featuring that, even though the league's rotated, post it in the comment section down below, and I will showcase them. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing, and I will see you all in the next one.